Chapter 261, Shang Clan Inner City. Fang Yuan paid 200 primeval stones, and entered the inner city with Bai Ning Bing. Inner city, although built in the mountain, had wide walking paths that could accommodate 10 horse carts traveling in a line. Once they entered, the crowds became much smaller, less than half of the outer city. But Gu masters became littered everywhere. Rank 1s were all over the place, rank 2 mixed in among them, and occasionally 1 or 2 rank 3s. There were few to no mortals. After all, 100 primeval stones were needed to enter. Most Gu master had servants to attend to them, but did not want to waste their money like this. The illumination of the inner city was through a type of charcoal. The charcoal stone could burn for a long time, and did not produce smoke. Every 100 steps, Fang and Bai would see a hole dug in the walls, as a bunch of charcoal stones burnt within. Even though the charcoal stone did not emit much heat, with so many of them burning at once, it still caused the inner city's temperature to be higher than outside, and the air to be much drier. Unlike outer city, which had all sorts of buildings, being a complete mix, the buildings here were all of one structure, and looked the same, made through a heat-resistant red lava stone. All sorts of paths extended out from the main street. At the same time, every 500 steps, a huge round pillar would appear. There was a spiral stone stairs on the surface of the pillar, as it extended upwards, with railings along the stone stairs. Through the stone pillars, people could go up one floor, or get to the street one floor lower. The inner city was not flat, but was more spherical. From up to down, numerous paths and buildings existed, linking together and allowing one to travel anywhere they wanted easily. Fang Yuan and Bai Ning Bing moved towards the deeper part of the mountain. This was still not their destination. At a certain location, a sentry appeared. The Gu master at work had higher cultivation, as the security of the place was heightened. "Do both of you have a token?" The guard stopped Fang and Bai. Shang clan gave tokens of varied authority to people of different statuses. "This is our first visit," Fang Yuan said. Obviously, he had no such thing. "In that case, it will be 200 primeval stones per person," the guard said. Fang Yuan paid the primeval stones, and the guard let them through. The two arrived at the fourth inner city as a result. Shangliang Mountain had been through a few thousand years of development by Shang clan. The entire mountain was remodeled by Shang clan, digging paths and constructing new buildings, classifying the place into regions. Thus, the inner city was huge. From inner to outer, there was 5 regions. The first inner city was called the Central Inner City, the political heart of Shang clan, and also their military base. The second inner city was also known as the Clan City. Only Shang clansmen could stay here. The third inner city had an elegant environment, with clean and fresh air. It was the high-class zone. Fourth inner city was the middle-class zone. Fifth inner city was the low-class zone. Any further and we get to the outer city, having high traffic flow, and all sorts of goods transportation. Compared to the inner city, it was much more chaotic. This construction structure was somewhat like a termite hill on Earth. Termite hills were 4 to 10 meters long, with the termites living within, in small interconnected tunnels, complex and exquisite. Once the two entered the fourth inner city, they could feel more moisture in the air as the temperature dropped slightly. Compared to fifth inner city, fourth inner city was a grade higher. Not only was the entrance fee twice as high, it also had much better facilities. Firstly, light was not provided by charcoal, but by a large number of a specific rank 1 grass gu. The name is Moonlight Crawling Mountain Tiger. This was a type of vine, growing on the walls of both sides of the street. As it spread out, it could be seen everywhere. The roots were deep blue, and the leaves were wide and large, emitting a small blue moonlight. Just one segment of the path had thousands of leaves, as the gentle blue light merged into one. Because of the large numbers of leaves, the air is more humid and water vapor filled the air. Near the ground, there was mist from the condensed vapor. The moonlight refracted in the mist, turning into an aurora. As one walked on the streets, they had a feeling of walking in a spiritual realm. The buildings here were mostly full of carvings and decorations. Some residents created grass fields, and placed flower vats, while others made artificial mountains, and pavilions. There was even less people on the streets here. Rank 2 Gu masters were now the common group. After all, 200 primeval stones was a huge sum to rank 1 Gu masters. Most evidently, the streets were still noisy in 5th Inner City, but here, it was much more quiet. The two continued deeper, and got to the city gate. Without a token, to enter the 3rd Inner City, both of you would need to pay 600 primeval stones. The guard's cultivation was already rank 3. Fong Yuan gave the primeval stones, and arrived at the 3rd area. This place was different from 4th Inner City yet again. All infrastructure were made using star stones. This type of rock was a widely used material in Gu refinement, able to emit starlight in the darkness. The entire 3rd Inner City used star stones. Not only buildings, but even the walking paths were made of star stones. At one glance, starlight filled the air as vision is clear, without any mist as obstruction. The air was fresh and clear. Looking around, there were pavilions, red walls and green bricks, and even transplanted bamboo forests, famous trees, making an artificial mountain, with spring water flowing as well. The streets had little people, quiet and serene, like a star palace. Truly rich and extravagant. By Ning being slightly assessed, just the cost of the buildings she could see, was an astronomical figure. As the most wealthy clan in the southern border, even Shang clan's leg hair was thicker than normal people's waists. Although an exaggeration, the rumors were not baseless. Shang clan's wealth was like a mountain. In fact, the entire Shang clan city was a literal mountain. Shang clan mainly traded, and that involved the entire southern border. Shang clan's true wealth and asset, no one could make clear of it. But Fong Yuan knew, just this 3rd Inner City's construction, could match with tens of Guyu clan's total wealth. At this place, even rank 2 Gu masters became rare. Once in a while, they saw Gu masters, but there were almost all rank 3. This was Fong Yuan's destination. Any deeper, and it is the 2nd Inner City. But to enter, it is no longer a problem of primeval stones. Shang clan city's token is required. And this token's authority has to reach a certain level. Tong O shop. Fong Yuan looked at the plaque before walking in. This was a shop that sold Gu worms. 2 esteemed guests, please enter. The attendant was a young girl, walking over and spoke in a soft volume. Her aura was not concealed, showing off her rank 1 Gu master cultivation. Although Fong and Bai wore mortal clothing, one was ugly while the other was down and out, this Gu master girl still showed a respectful attitude, displaying her superior service attitude. Fong Yuan and Bai Ningbing were brought into an elegant room. This is a private room, with wooden tables and chairs, with sculptures and paintings hanging on the white walls. The brush strokes resembled dragons and phoenixes dancing as the strokes were written with precise strength. Through the window lattice, the garden could be seen, green trees and red flowers along with the chirping of birds. The Gu master young girl brought over 2 cups of fragrant tea and left. Just as she left, an elderly man entered. May I inquire if our 2 esteemed guests are here to buy or sell? The elderly was a rank 2 Gu master, smiling as he cupped his fists and asked. Both buying, and also selling. Fong Yuan raised his cup as he answered. The elderly laughed, and 2 flashes of light flew out of his body, floating in front of Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing. It was 2 bookworms. Bookworm was a rank 1 Gu worm, but was precious, as rare as the liquor worm. Once one appears on the market, it would be sold instantly. There was often demand but no supply for it. It was like a silkworm, although it had a head, body and stomach, 3 distinct parts. Its body looked like a cocoon overall, round and cute. Its body was white, but the surface had a layer of enamel, giving off an oily glow. Holding it in one's hand, it was round and smooth, like a high-grade porcelain vase. The bookworm was a storage-type Gu, similar to the Tusita flower. The difference was, Tusita flower stored physical items, while bookworm stored knowledge and information. Even if it was destroyed, it would only explode into a flash of harmless white light. Please browse through. The elderly Gu master said. The 2 bookworms were refined by him, thus he could easily lend them to Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing. Fang and Bai both used a trace of snow-silver primeval essence, and injected it into the bookworm. The bookworms turned into a flash of white light, entering the 2's forehead, in between their eyebrows. Suddenly, Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing gained a wave of information in their heads. The information was like content they memorized, deeply entrenched in their minds. Bai Ningbing bit her tongue secretly. Tong O shop sold almost tens of thousands of Gu worms. Gu worms of all kinds, causing one to get dizzy from observing the selection alone. Among them, there was bookworm, liquor worm, all sorts of precious Gu worms, from low to high, rank 1 to 5. Of course, there was definitely no rank 6 Gu. Each Gu worm had their specialized introduction to state their uses. There was even accurate prices, some were priced highly, while rare and precious Gu worms even had all sorts of token requirements. This means, only Gu masters with specific Shang clan tokens had the qualifications to buy these Gu worms. Fang Yuan needed to purchase large numbers of Gu worms. After browsing through casually, he came back to reality and returned the bookworm to the elderly. Although he had over 10,000 primeval stones now, to purchase all the Gu worms he needed, there was still some way to go. Money was not the problem, because some of the Gu worms had token requirements. Esteemed guest, what are you interested in? If you purchase in bulk, we can give an appropriate discount. The elderly smiled and said. Seeing Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing's snow-silver primeval essence, his tone became even more respectful. Fang Yuan waved his hand, no rush, I have Gu worms to sell. Saying so, he summoned a bone spear Gu. The elderly was not surprised, there was many who came to Tong O shop to buy, but also many who came to sell. He held the bone spear Gu, took a look, and showed a trace of surprise on his face. He had never seen the bone spear Gu. Of course he has not. This was a special Gu worms made by Grey Bone Scholar, it had never entered the market. Please enlighten me, esteemed guest. The elderly showed a solemn expression as he cupped his fists. Fang Yuan nodded, drinking some tea, of course. This is the bone spear Gu, a specific lineage of Gu worms. I'll lend it to you now, you'll know when you try it. The elderly wielded it at once, remarking, this Gu, although rank 1, is not easy to raise. But its attack power is high and is rather unique, it is worth this price. The elderly stretched out his palm, showing a number. Chapter 262, Unable to Sell. 310. Seeing the amount shown by the elderly, Fang Yuan raised his eyebrows. Liquor worm's price was 580, bookworm was slightly higher, at 600. Black and white boar Gu were also 600, but all these Gu worms were rank 1 rare Gu, with little numbers, thus their price was steep. Ordinary rank 1 Gu were around 250 primeval stones. One-time expenditure Gu like Vitality Grass were priced at 50 apiece. Setting the Bone Spear Gu at 310 was already quite good. This elderly working at Tong O shop did not suppress the price purposely. But even so, Fang Yuan tried to raise the prices as much as he could. Bargaining was already mastered by him to the limits in his previous life. In just a few sentences, the elderly had no choice but to raise the price by 10 primeval stones. One Bone Spear Gu, 320 primeval stones. All right, we shall deal at this price. Fang Yuan waved his hand, and a wave of light flew out of his aperture. 56 Bone Spear Gu floated in front of the elderly, causing him to jump from shock. So many. He instantly regretted it. Each raised by 10 primeval stones, this is nearly a 600 primeval stone increment. The truth is, Fang Yuan took almost 200 Bone Spear Gu from Baigu Mountain. But as he traded along the way, without sufficient food, most of them had died already, only so little remain. 56 Gu, that is 17,920, 17920, primeval stones. I will ask the servants to bring over the primeval stones over now. The elderly kept the Bone Spear Gu into his aperture. No rush, look at this. Fang Yuan smiled, taking out a spiral Bone Spear Gu. This rank 2 Gu resembles the Bone Spear Gu. The elderly showed astonishment on his face. Indeed, successfully refining the Bone Spear Gu will create this spiral Bone Spear Gu. It has a spiral force, thus its penetration ability is very strong. Fang Yuan explained at an appropriate timing. The elderly tested, and verified what Fang Yuan had mentioned, giving a price of 780 primeval stones. After a few rounds of bargaining, Fang Yuan raised the price to 800 per Gu. These spiral Bone Spear Gu were well kept by him, there were 20 in his aperture. This way, he sold them all for 16,000 primeval stones. Now look at this Gu, 7,000 primeval stones. Fang Yuan gave a price, and took out the Bone Spike Gu, introducing once again. The elderly held the Bone Spike Gu, but did not dare to test it, laughing bitterly. This Gu is rank 3, but it hurts both enemies and user. The pain of bone spikes penetrating the skin must hurt greatly. To use it, a healing Gu has to be used as well. This price is too high, I will consider 6,500, it is just the right price. Let's not bargain anymore, I'll give in a little, 6,700. Fang Yuan said. After 2 rounds, the elderly found Fang Yuan extremely hard to deal with. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and gritted his teeth. Deal. Then that is 40,620, 40620, primeval stones in total. Fang Yuan's eyeballs moved as he gave an accurate amount. The elderly suddenly bowed, paying respects to Fang Yuan. Esteemed guest, these Gu worms that you are selling, I have never seen them in my years of dealing in business. They are all interconnected, with a clear advancement path, they seem to be of one family tree. May I ask you, are these Gu from the same inheritance? Fang Yuan nodded. Any intelligent person can tell, indeed, this was obtained through a lucky opportunity, and I inherited an inheritance, getting these Gu worms. The elderly was joyful. In that case, you must have the relevant Gu refinement recipe. Esteemed guest's luck truly is amazing, even an outsider would be envious. Is it possible to sell these recipes together to my shop? Fang Yuan frowned. Goods were expensive when rare. Bone Spear Gu, Spiral Bone Spear Gu, Bone Spike Gu, not only he possessed them, Bai clan had them too. No issue if he sold them. But the complete refinement recipe, he obtained it from the flesh sack secret room, there was only one in the world. Such a thing could not be easily sold. Anything that is below rank 6, both Gu and recipes, can have a price. But, how much primeval stones can you offer? Fang Yuan thought, and asked. As long as the price is appropriate, this recipe could be sold. He needed money. After selling the bone spear Gu and others, the 40,000 primeval stones was insufficient for his plans. The elderly raised 2 fingers, 200,000. After selling so many Gu worms, he only got 40,000. But the formless recipe could gain him 200,000. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. The method to catching fish far surpasses the value of the fish itself. Because the method implies a continuous source of fish. To Tong O shop, with a recipe, it means they can produce bone spear Gu and the others themselves, endlessly. That means a long-term transaction item, only sold at a single place, thus the white bone recipe is definitely priced much more highly. But Fang Yuan smirked, 200,000. You dare report this price? The elderly's face turned red. This price was low indeed. He quickly said, 300,000. Fang Yuan did not speak, but turned to leave. The elderly gritted his teeth, 500,000. This price is finally looking bearable, I'll sell it for 680,000. Fang Yuan sipped his tea. The elderly's face was bitter, 500,000 is the limit of my authority. Esteemed guest, you sold so many bone spear Gu, we can hire a recipe master to reverse engineer your recipe. It is really not bad to sell it for 500,000 already. Fang Yuan shook his head, his attitude firm. The recipe in my hands is unique to this world, there is only one in the entire world. At least 650,000, otherwise I will not sell it. Within this Shang clan city, I'm sure there are other shops, right? You do not know this, esteemed guest. Shang clan city has many shops, but most are under the control of my clan's young master. If you cannot sell it here, no other places would buy it either. If you do not sell the recipe, I'm afraid you won't be able to sell these Gu worms too. The elderly cupped his fist, his words being both firm and compromising, with a hint of threat. Oh. Then we'll see about that. Fang Yuan kept all these Gu worms, and left. Esteemed guests, I am sincerely advising you, please stay and sell it. The elderly gave his last attempt. Fang Yuan did not pay him any attention, walking out of the room immediately. Bai Ningbing could only follow closely behind. Esteemed guest, you will come here again. The elderly laughed coldly, sending the two off with his gaze. After Fang and Bai left, the elderly came to the secret room, and activated his primeval essence, summoning a Gu. This Gu turned into a flash of light and entered a bronze mirror. Ripples appeared on the mirror surface, as a young man's face showed up. This subordinate greets young master. Seeing the young Gu master, the elderly quickly kneeled on the floor. What business do you have? This young man was one of the young masters of Shang clan, called Xianxia. He was only 18, at the peak of his life, but he was an alcoholic, causing his face to be skinny, and his skin to be pale, and giving off a dazed expression. The elderly spoke about Fang Yuan's matter. In Xianxia's eyes, a devious but excited light shone. He shouted loudly, "Excellent! Heaven really leaves a path for the desperate. I was worrying about how to keep my young master position, and now heaven sends me this gift. I have to obtain this inheritance. With this deal, I would be able to pass the evaluation this year. This subordinate will do his best, but I am only in charge of Tong O shop, as for the others. I will arrange it. These two wants to sell Gu worms, they can only bow to me." Xianxia snorted in disdain. Ba Bao shop. Sorry guests, there are instructions from the higher-ups, if the two of you wants to sell Gu, you should go to Tong O shop. Yuan Fong 1 building. So it is the two esteemed guests, if you sell the recipe, all can be discussed. Bu Dao Store. You two are esteemed guests, I am a businesswoman, why would I chase you away, but I am left with no choice either. After 3 shops, Fang Yuan did not manage to sell his gu worms. To think you would have this day. The old man was not wrong, this is indeed their territory. Bai Ningbing struck a blow to Fang Yuan relentlessly. After several rejections, Fang Yuan's face was still calm. Shang clan leader Shang Yanfei has many children, but there is only one position for young clan leader, and 10 young masters. Every year there would be an evaluation to choose the young clan leader, and remove the worst performing young master to make room for his other children. A bright light flashed across Bai Ningbing's brain, so that's it, that means this Shang clan young master is either vying for the young clan leader position, or to defend his young master title. Otherwise, he would not create such a commotion. Fang Yuan laughed as he clapped his hands together, this is Shang clan's 3rd inner city, no fighting is allowed. Even if Bai clan came here, they cannot do anything here. For the Shang clan young masters, their restrictions is even greater. With the impending evaluation, every movement from them will be strictly observed. We are in no hurry, let's find a place to sit down first. At Shang clan, there is no worry about lack of food. Let's just stall it out, and wait a few more days with these bone spear gu, let's see who outlasts the other. At the same time, in the 1st inner city. Did you investigate clearly? Shang Yanfei stood at the window, staring at the garden. This lady is indeed your flesh and blood, clan leader. Moreover, her soul is intact, her body had not been taken over by another person. I've already contacted Zhang clan, and clarified her identity. But there is something strange, she was part of a caravan heading towards Shangliang Mountain, but we cannot find anyone who traveled with her in the caravan. The external clan elder Wei Yang lowered his head and reported. Shang Yanfei listened quietly, sighing in his heart, oh heavens, thank you for giving me a chance to make amendments. I have already let down a girl, I cannot disappoint this daughter of mine anymore. Shang Xianxia sat before the table, seeing the hot steam rise from her tea, her eyes were out of focus. From Xiao Dai's words, she knew of Shang Yanfei's identity. She did not expect her father to be the Shang clan leader, a man with immense authority, whose every action can impact the entire southern border. Then why did he not find her mother? Shang Xianxia was intelligent after all, quickly understanding the reason why Shang Yanfei abandoned her mother. But even on her deathbed, her mother missed him greatly. Shang Xianxia felt pain in her heart, but also hatred, but mostly emptiness. She did not know how to face this father who appeared all of a sudden. But running away was impossible, outside the door there was knocking, Xiaer too, can I come in? Xiao Dai instantly became nervous. It was Shang Yanfei. Chapter 263, Meeting. Shang Yanfei showed a sincere smile as he walked into the house. Xiao Dai hurriedly paid respects, while Shang Xianxia sat beside the table, motionless as she continued to stare at the same spot. Shang Yanfei also sat beside the table, speaking in an extremely gentle voice, Xiaer, how do you feel now? Shang Xianxia had good upbringing after all, she stood up, took a few steps back and bowed, Lord Shang clan leader does not have to worry, I only fainted because my emotions were too intense, I have recovered now, I can hear and see well, there is no problem. Shang Yanfei quickly waved his hand, he, as long as you are fine Xiaer, come sit down and talk. Shang Xianxia only addressed him as Shang clan leader, purposely using such a distant term, it caused his heart to ache. Shang Xianxia sat down once again, as Xiao Dai finally reacted and poured tea for Shang Yanfei. Tell me, how were your past few years? Xianxia looked at Xianxia gently. It was rather all right. Xianxia answered curtly, not wishing to converse deeply into it. But Xiao Dai started to grumble. From young, Missy has been isolated by the clansmen. After Madame passed away, they got even harsher and wanted to snatch our family fortune. They are too evil, sir, you have to help Missy. Xiao Dai, pour your tea. Xianxia rolled her eyes at Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai instantly shut up, not speaking anymore. Facing this, Xianxia did not get anxious, instead the pity and pain in his heart grew. He laughed, right, how did you get here? Coming here from Zhang clan, it is a huge distance away. Sir, you almost failed to see Missy. We barely made it out alive in this journey. The entire caravan of 1,000 was reduced to us 4. Luckily we met Lord He Tu and Bai Yun and gained their assistance, if not. Xiao Dai could not control herself and blabbered. Xiao Dai. Xianxia glared at Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai had to shut up once again. Xianxia memorized the 2 names, He Tu and Bai Yun, as he smiled, from now on, you 2 will stay here. It is extremely safe, when you are bored you can take a walk in the garden, or go outside for shopping. You have just arrived here, and are not familiar with the estate yet, it is easy to get lost. I will send a servant over to you, she is familiar with the environment. I shall leave first, take a good rest for now. Xianxia could tell Xianxia still needed time to adjust her mindset. At this point, he needed to give her time and space to adapt. Master is such a good person, although he is the Shang clan leader, he is so amiable. Missy, he is your birth father after all. Seeing Xianxia leave, Xiao Dai urged. I know, I understood mother's intentions when I first saw him. Sigh, she instructed me to come to Shangliang Mountain before she died, yet not telling me the reason. That is because she was not certain if he would acknowledge me as his daughter. Although he has accepted me, I do not feel good about it. This is all too sudden. Missy, no matter what, no matter where you go, I will stay by your side. Xiao Dai stood before the table, grabbing Xianxia's hand and encouraging. Xianxia was moved and nodded, placing her palm on top of Xiao Dai's. Of course, if Missy can stay here, that would be the best. You know, this is Shang clan. Oh God, glory and wealth are all within arm's reach. Zhang clan can't even hold a candle to Shang clan, Missy. Xiao Dai made a wry face as she said. Oh you. Xianxia laughing speechlessly, feeling helpless against Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai snickered. As her laughter infected Xianxia, it resolved the remaining grudge in her heart. Xianxia walked out of the room, and his smile vanished completely. He wore a black robe and had blood-colored hair, a handsome face with eyes shining with cold light. He habitually tightened his lips together, showing off his determined and decisive personality. He is Xianxia, this generation's Shang clan leader. He was cruel and ruthless. For the clan leader position, he forced 2 brothers and a sister to commit suicide. He was resolute in killing. When he first got into power, a faraway clan village thought that they were at a safe distance and attacked Shang clan's caravan. He ignored all objections and expended much resources to murder every single person in that village. He murdered all those who surrendered, and their skulls piled into a mountain, in front of those elders who first objected his decision to retaliate. He held an iron rule. Since he got into power, he consolidated his political strength, and practiced nepotism, suppressing his competition. Quickly adding over a dozen external clan elders, he used only 3 years to transform the entire Shang clan higher up into his personal voice. He had great vision, and talent for business. During his years in power, Shang clan's caravan grew 3 times in size. Up to 100 clans became Shang clan's subordinates, and formed into a great hidden force. He appointed people based on merits, even for his own children. There was 15 Shang clan young master positions originally, but after his rule, he reduced it to 10. What's more rare, is his talent, having a great aptitude. At the same time as he ruled the clan, his cultivation also rose as quickly, ahead of his peers, causing many to admire, hate and be jealous of him. This is Shang Yanfei, the man standing on top of the southern border's mortal realm. This subordinate greets Lord Clan Leader. A young female Gu master bowed and paid respects. Tian Lan, from today onwards, you will take care of Missy Ci heir to the best of your efforts. Shang Yanfei said coldly. This subordinate understands. The young girl nodded. When you are near her, pay great attention, and find out some information. Missy Ci heir might not like to speak, but her servant speaks without thinking. She is your easiest breakthrough point. I want you to find out how exactly did they manage to come to Shangliang Mountain. Yes, this subordinate understands. Go now. This subordinate takes her leave. Tian Lan was an orphan adopted by Shang Yanfei. She was loyal and could be trusted to use. Her ability to perform was great too. In just 3 days, she completed her mission. Hei Tu Bai Yun. Demonic Gu Masters. Shang Yanfei rubbed his chin. If this is real, I have to thank the two of them well. But to prevent other possibilities, I have to investigate them more clearly. Thinking of this, Shang Yanfei summoned Wei Yang. Go find these two, one is called Hei Tu, the other Bai Yun, one male and one female, both demonic Gu masters. Their facial features are as such. In Third Inner City. It has already been 3 days. Have those two stayed in Nanqiu Garden the entire time? Yes, young master, from that day on, they stayed deep within. The most they did was to come out and buy some milk. This subordinate thinks those milk are for feeding the Gu worms. Damn it. Shang Yazi gritted his teeth. His gaze was like a dagger that wanted to cut those two people into pieces. The assessment was impending. Among the 10 young masters, he was at last place. If he does not get any business done, he would definitely be eliminated. Shang Yanfei had many children, but there are only 10 young master positions. Comparing ordinary children and young masters, their treatment were a world apart from each other. Young masters gathered attention, and could control one of Shang clan's business, with unlimited glamour and fortune awaiting. Young clan leader was even more outstanding. But if it were just ordinary children, then their treatment was no different than other clansmen. Shang Yazi had already experienced the authority of a young master. Asking him to go back to the ordinary lifestyle of the clansman is akin to asking him to die. Thus, he needed that inheritance. Not just obtaining it, but also getting it at a low price. Only when the price is low, will his profit be high. But these two, Fang and Bai, were as stubborn as rocks, refusing to bow to him. If this was the 4th or 5th inner city, he could use some extreme methods, and force them to submit. But now that they stayed in 3rd inner city, Shang Yazi would not even dare to think of using force here. This cannot go on. They have time to waste, but I do not. It seems I have to go myself. Shang Yazi could not take it anymore, bringing his subordinates and arriving at Nanqiu Garden. Nanqiu Garden was a residential area for esteemed guests to stay in. In 3rd inner city, there was no inns, only these small-sized gardens. Staying here for a day requires 30 primeval stones, that is, 300 for 10 days, and nearly 1,000 a month. Nanqiu Garden's price was still cheap among 3rd inner city estates. Some large-sized gardens require 100 primeval stones a day. For some special grade gardens, you cannot stay with just primeval stones, you needed the Shang clan token. In Shang clan city, every acre of land is as valuable as gold, especially in third inner city where commodity prices are sky high. Xianxia brought his people over to visit, as Fang and Bai were playing chess beside the lotus pond. Xianxia snorted, saying in a taunting tone, "You two sure have great interests, why didn't you go to other shops to ask these days?" "What's there to ask? Those who want to buy, will find their way here, am I right?" Fang Yuan laughed lightly. "You!" Xianxia flew into a rage, Fang Yuan's attitude was angering him. He gritted his teeth, forcefully suppressing his emotions, raising his head and saying arrogantly, "I'm looking at the fact that you have it tough, I'll make it 500,000, are you happy now?" 500,000 primeval stones. No deal. At least 650. Fang Yuan glanced at Xianxia before turning back to the chessboard. Xianxia's eyes squinted into a thin line as he took a few steps towards Fang Yuan and threatened, "You two demonic Gu masters, how dare you pretend? I've checked up on your backgrounds, you snatched this inheritance from Bai clan, right? I heard you even killed Bai clan's 2 young masters. You had better take the chance now and sell it quickly. I'll tell you, these few days, a Tai clan group has already reached Shangliang Mountain, and are looking for your traces. What do you think will happen if I expose your information to them?" "Oh. Go tell them then." Fang Yuan laughed heartily. "You!" Xianxia pointed at Fang Yuan, unable to endure it anymore. "I'll tell you, 500,000 is my greatest sincerity, other than selling it to me, what other choices do you have?" "None. This is my sorority, you had better understand your circumstances." At this time, a light descended from the sky, and turned into a Gu master. This Gu master looked around, before bowing slightly, saying towards Fang and Bai, "Sir He Tu and Lady Bai Yun, I am Wei Yang, as with clan leader's orders, I am inviting both of you to the second inner city for a talk." What? Father wants to meet these two personally. Xianxia felt lightning strike him as his eyes stared widely, expressing his utter fear. This is really bad. Chapter 264, Absolutely Terrible. Xianxia turned pale with fright. His action of suppressing the price was against the rules. He would receive severe punishment were it to be discovered. This was an organization. Once you were in a high position, you needed to comply with the rules. The rules of a system was to ensure the benefits of the higher-ups, despite many of the organizations advertising they represented the benefits of the majority, it was, for the most part, just a joke. So the higher your position is, the more you needed to comply with the rules. On the contrary, there was more corruption in the low mid-level positions. After you reached a higher position, individual benefits had already become inseparably linked with the benefits of the organization. Often, the benefits the organization received would represent your own benefits. Xianxia could only be said to be a temporary higher-up, many paid attention to him as one of the young masters of Shang clan, but his real authority came from his father, he was just like rootless weed. This also signified his punishment would be more harsh when he violated the rules because many people were watching him. This is not possible, I have already carefully investigated before I came, I even spent a large amount of primeval stones to buy information on these two from Feng Yu Manor. These two are clearly demonic Gu masters and are also listed as wanted, they are stray dogs, why would Lord Father invite them? Xianxia felt this situation was incredibly unbelievable. It was like the case of a rich person making things difficult for two beggars, when suddenly an imperial edict comes declaring that the emperor wanted to see these two beggars. Xianxia was pressuring Fang Yuan because they were lone forces, oppressing them and finishing this affair in secrecy should have been absolutely safe and no one would know. Naturally, there was bound to be some risks, but Xianxia could only take that risk to protect his position as a young master. How could they have any relation to father when they don't have any background? Damn it, has the world gone crazy? What do I do? If they disclose this matter, my young master position is finished. Should I kill them? No, this is just courting my own death. I don't have any chance of doing anything in this third inner city, especially now that they have received father's attention. The main thing is these two bastards, they are at rank 3 peak stage. How am I supposed to do anything in this situation? In a split second, thoughts processed like lightning in Xianxia's mind, trying to think of countermeasures. His eyes kept on moving about, and sweat was already starting to seep out of his forehead. He had played with fire this time. Damn it, what do I do, what else is there? He was roaring with worry in his mind. Shang clan leader wants to see us. What for? Fang Yuan timely showed his doubt. Bai Ningbing was even more puzzled. What is going on? She suspected this was Fang Yuan's trick at first, and so glanced at Fang Yuan. However, Fang Yuan also showed a puzzled expression which baffled her. She couldn't help but think, I have been with him all the time, he shouldn't be able to conceal anything from me if he was up to something. Moreover, what kind of person was Shang clan leader? He was high and above, standing at the peak of the mortals. No matter how proud Bai Ningbing was, even she acknowledged Shang Yanfei's authority and power. Then why do I feel something amiss, as if I neglected something? Wei Yang laughed, rest assured, if Shang clan wanted to harm you guys, why would we make it so complicated? This is a friendly invitation, Lord Clan Leader is very interested in you too. It is our honor to be able to receive the clan leader's invitation. We will immediately go see him then. Fang Yuan threw the chess piece on his hand and stood up. Xianxia felt even more worried and promptly said, 650,000 primeval stones, let's complete the deal. Fang Yuan glanced at him and smiled, sorry, I don't intend to sell the secret recipe. Xianxia's face turned deathly pale, his mouth felt parched and his gaze towards Fang Yuan even contained some vague imploring, I was anxious and behaved rudely, please don't take it to heart, esteemed guests. The price can be discussed, we can properly discuss it after you are back. Fang Yuan gave a shallow smile. He didn't reply. Who would discuss with you? But temporarily stabilizing this man could prevent him from taking desperate actions and reduce some trouble. As he thought of this, Fang Yuan nodded, if young master is sincere, then I will look forward to it. Xianxia's expression immediately relaxed and showed a grateful expression, it was like a person that was about to fall from a cliff suddenly found a tree to grab onto. Okay, I will wait for you. He promptly said. Esteemed guests, please. Wei Yang showed the way. Lead the way. Following Wei Yang, Fang and Bai entered second inner city. Bai Ningbing had been anticipating the extravagant second inner city, but when she reached there, she was astonished and disappointed. In the second inner city, buildings were made of stones and were very simple, even the fourth inner city was better than this. But her expression soon turned grave as she realized the reason. It is easy for the frugal to become extravagant, but very difficult for the extravagant to become frugal. Shang clan's riches were as high as a mountain, but they scrupulously abided by living in a simple way. This was not because they were miserly, but to maintain the vigor of the clan. Wei Yang led Fang and Bai to a private residence. Esteemed guests, you can have some fruits while you wait. Lord Clan Leader has just recently come out of closed-door cultivation and is handling some matters. He will come here soon. This is Clan Leader's private residence, please stay here and don't casually move outside. I will take my leave now. There was no one else in the house, Fang and Bai were left alone after Wei Yang's departure. The two waited for a whole 6 hours but did not see even a shadow. Wei Yang said they could eat fruits, but where were the fruits? Not even tea could be found. During the first 2 hours, Fang Yuan calmly sat on a wide-backed wooden chair. During the next 2 hours, he could no longer sit calmly and started mumbling to himself, revealing his impatience. By the 6th hour, he clearly revealed impatience and unease as he began to move to and fro in the house. Humph, what the hell is this Shang clan leader doing? He wants us to wait for him, but where is he? He is too arrogant. Fang Yuan's tone was angry as he paced around. Can you just sit down? My eyes are getting dizzy. Why not just cultivate peacefully? Bai Ningbing slightly frowned. This was not like Fang Yuan's usual behavior. There is something fishy here. Do you think it was really Shang clan leader who invited us? Fang Yuan's brows were tightly knitted together. How would I know? I was going to ask you that. Bai Ningbing rolled her eyes and puzzledly said, did you do something wrong and offended Shang clan? Fang Yuan snorted, you have been with me all the time and you still can't understand me. There is no one in this private residence, I am not able to be at ease here. Let's go out and take a look at the situation. Bai Ningbing thought for a little while and stood up, all right. Fang and Bai walked out of the house. The courtyard wasn't big and there was also nothing strange. At the same time, in First Inner City. Inside a study, colorful smoke curled up and rose in front of Shang Yanfei, showing the real-time view of Fang and Bai. Wei Yang, what do you think of these two? Shang Yanfei asked his trusted aide. Wei Yang mumbled, the way I see it, these two are indeed demonic Gu masters. From the information we collected, they are young but have rank 3 peak stage cultivation, their innate talents should be extraordinary. Among those two, He Tu is rather frank and is kind of rash, Bai Yun seems to have deep thoughts and should be very shrewd. He Tu, Bai Yun, these names should be fake. Your analysis isn't bad. In that case, you will be in charge of interacting with them for these few days. Test their abilities and closely follow them. Shang Yanfei finished speaking and put away the colorful smoke. He was only worried about Xianxia and showed little interest towards Fang and Bai. The small test just now gave him a basic understanding towards the temperament of these two. And combining it with the intelligence he received, he more or less had a general impression. Not all demonic Gu masters were demented people. These two guys could be considered decent, and maybe it was because they were young, he could clearly sense their lofty character. People who had principles were often lofty and unyielding. First impression was important. Shang Yanfei honestly felt Fang and Bai were quite good. But he was a prudent person, anyone who could sit stably at a position like his were all prudent. He was waiting for the people he sent to investigate the truth to come back and confirm everything, then he could rest easy. Alright, handle this properly, you can leave now. Shang Yanfei waved his hands, then he took out the top document from the tall pile of documents in the study. He had only been in closed cultivation for half a month, and the work had piled up so much already. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing made a round in the private residence, there really was no one else. The two were hesitating whether to go out to check the situation when Wei Yang appeared before them. Two esteemed guests, Lord Clan Leader is very busy with work and is not able to leave right now. We can only cancel this meeting. He looked like he was sincerely apologizing. What? We come and leave according to your whims? Fang Yuan was indignant. Bai Ningbing was silent and expressionless. Wei Yang smiled, you two are our esteemed guests, why would Shang clan chase away their esteemed guests? Lord Clan Leader especially had asked me to attend to you as an apology. I have already arranged for a banquet in Shirtian restaurant, please give me the honor of hosting. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing glanced at each other, then Fang Yuan said, "Just in time, we are also hungry, let's go fill our stomachs first." Shi Tian Restaurant was one of the best restaurants in Xianxia City and occupied a great amount of space in the third inner city. The decorations were elegant, and its dishes sumptuous. Its chefs were specialized gu masters who used special gu worms to help in cooking delicacies that couldn't be matched by ordinary methods. A typical meal here would last over 4 hours and more. There were over 100 type of dishes, each with their own characteristics. Their top-quality wine also left a rich aftertaste. Bai Ningbing didn't eat much and kept on worrying about Shang clan leader's invitation. She tried to get answers from Wei Yang indirectly at the banquet, but Wei Yang was a cautious guy too and kept his mouth closed. On the contrary, Fang Yuan ate with gusto, with oil marks around his mouth. He also drank heavily and began to kick up a racket. His resentment and indignance from just before seemed to have completely disappeared. Wei Yang looked at Fang Yuan who was drinking directly from the wine jar and then looked at Bai Ningbing who was only drinking water. He instantly felt Fang Yuan, this ugly guy, was much more adorable. After the banquet was over, Wei Yang dropped the two off at Nanqiu Garden. Wei Yang left his parting words, "Take a good rest tonight, I will come look for you tomorrow and take you sightseeing around the Shang clan city." Chapter 265, Broadsword of Light vs. Bone Spear. On the second day. As expected, Wei Yang came to Nanqiu Garden and brought Fang and Bai to tour Shang clan city. Our Shang clan city is number 1 in the southern border in terms of size. Shang clan has operated here for thousands of years, transforming the entire Shangliang mountain. Here, there are over 10,000 shops, and hundreds of thousands of people. Both of you have not eaten yet, I'll bring you to a famous breakfast shop, please follow me. Fang and Bai followed Wei Yang, along the stone pillar and descended. After 3 layers, they came to a shop, called Early Spring. 1,000-layer agate cake, crab roe bun, golden field pancake, snow porridge. Shang clan city, from inner to outer, has first, second, third, fourth, fifth and outer city. If they were classified even more clearly, there are many zones as well: food zone, gambling rocks zone, caretaking zone, red light zone and others. Wei Yang introduced. His is the culinary zone, with many restaurants mostly owned by gu master chefs. The delicacies are endless. This is the caretaking zone. Most gu masters have excessive gu worms, so they place them here for caretaking. The price is determined by situations, but ordinarily, a rank 1 gu costs 80 primeval stones a month. This is the gu fighting zone. This place is solely for gu fights. Gu masters cannot interfere, and can only control their gu. If you too have appropriate gu worms, you can give it a try. This is the red light zone, having the most number of brothels in the entire Shang clan city. Many gu masters come here to relax. You too have come here through the caravan, you must know the immense pressure during the journey. Here you can find women, men, and even gu masters. Are the 2 of you interested? A day's time is too short, while Shang clan city is too huge. Even if the 3 used horse carriages to travel, they cannot even cover 1% of the entire city. On the 3rd day, Wei Yang came over again to attend to Fang and Bai. This is the substitute refinement zone. You are both gu masters, you naturally understand the difficulties in refining gu. To us, what we fear most is encountering a strong-willed wild gu worm during refinement, or a gu that an expert had left behind. The higher the rank of the gu, the harder it is to refine. Back in the day, Empress Wu Ji spent 11 years just to refine a rank 5 dragon strength gu. Thus, substitute refinement is a necessity, and has always been in the market. This is the auction zone. Every day there will be a small-scale auction held here, every 2 weeks there will be a mid-scale auction, and at the end of every month, there will be a large-scale auction. Most items that appear on the auction are rare and coveted. This is the battle zone, with over 80 battle stages. This place is always the most popular. There are single battle stages, for Gu masters to experiment and practice using their Gu worms. There are dual battle stages for Gu masters to exchange pointers, and even multi-battle stages, to experience multiple enemies at once. Just as Wei Yang had said, the battle stages were the most popular place in Xianxia City. The place was chaotic and noisy, as human traffic stayed high, rank 3 Gu masters could be seen everywhere. Big Brother Wei, why are you here? From among the crowd, a young man saw Wei Yang and immediately called out, walking briskly towards him. This man was about 27 or 8 years old, having a common face but gave off a strong aura. Little Xiao, I heard you fought your way into 3rd Inner City. Good job. Wei Yang patted the young man's shoulders, encouraging. Yes, I recently advanced to rank 3 middle stage, and my fighting strength improved as well. Come to think of it, I have to thank you for all your guidance, or I would have never made it this far. The young man earnestly thanked. You have good talent, lad, you could do it even without me. You are not 30 yet, but you have already reached rank 3 middle stage, that is much more impressive than me back then. Wei Yang laughed and said. The young man gave Wei Yang an admiring gaze. Big Brother Wei Yang, how can I compare to you? You were only rank 3 middle stage back then, and already dominated the 3rd Inner City. At 25, you got the attention of the Lord Clan leader and was recruited. Now, you are already a clan elder. Just look at Shang clan, how many external clan elders are there in total? As long as you work hard, you can do it too. Wei Yang encouraged the young man. Soon after, he turned around, and explained to Fang and Bai, the battle zone is one of the ways Shang clan recruit outside talents. Back then, I fought my way from the 5th Inner City's battle zone all the way to 3rd Inner City, and stayed on the stage for 18 consecutive rounds before being recruited by Lord Clan leader. Back then, Shang Yanfei was still not the clan leader. After becoming his trusted aide, Wei Yang was also successfully promoted to an external clan elder after Shang Yanfei got into power. Bai Ningbing suddenly realized. No wonder the battle zone was so popular. Shang clan's enterprise was huge, and they needed manpower in many areas. Just relying on their clansmen would be difficult to handle the entire situation. The many generations of Shang clan young masters would definitely recruit a number of demonic Gu masters for their own use. If the young master that supported these demonic Gu masters became the clan leader, then the demonic Gu masters under them would likely become an external clan elder, enjoying the treatment of a clan elder. Gu masters' cultivation required lots of resources. Many demonic Gu masters did not have a stable source of resources from their clans, and were often poor. Only by relying on a clan could they better survive. Wei Yang was a successful example. In Shang Clan City's battle zone, there are large numbers of demonic Gu masters. In order to join the Shang clan, and become part of the righteous path, to become someone like Wei Yang, they had to compete as they fought their way up to the top. Battle stage, this place is filled with memories. Guests, would you like to have a spar with me? Wei Yang suddenly suggested. Big Brother Wei is going on the stage. Little Xiao suddenly became excited, his eyes gleaming. Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing looked at each other. Alright, then let me experience it. Fang Yuan had expected Shang clan to probe into this, thus he went with the flow. Big Brother Wei, you don't come here often, this place has been remodeled many times, let me lead the way. Little Xiao volunteered. Wei Yang nodded, okay. Little Xiao asked, Brother Wei, what field do you want, forest, mountain, wilderness, or desert, lake? Wei Yang turned around, asking for Fong and Bai's opinion. Let our two esteemed guests choose. Some Gu masters specialized in mountain battles, some specialized in desert battles. The battle environment was an important element in affecting battle results. We can choose different stages here. What fields do you have? Bai Ningbing asked curiously. Little Xiao heard Wei Yang address Fong and Bai as esteemed guests, and did not dare to drag on, quickly explaining to them. The battle stages in the third inner city had around tens of different environments, almost encompassing all kinds of terrain that one could possibly be in. After hearing so, Bai Ningbing could not help but have an urge to try. Then let's choose the flagstone stage. Flagstone stage, the most common battle stage, without any wind, snow, rain or sand as natural elements. The specialized black flagstone, covered over 100 meters of land. Quickly look, it seems to be Elder Wei Yang. It is Elder Wei Yang, that's him. Although he has great aptitude, he was a successful story that left the battle stage. Back then, I even competed with him. Wei Yang seemed to be popular as his appearance on the battle stage attracted many people's attention. But Wei Yang kept a low profile, using his clan elder authority to seal this battle stage, preventing outsiders from watching. Only little Xiao was left. Wei Yang walked to the center of the stage. According to normal rules, both sides of the competitors have to announce their cultivation, before assessing it fairly. But since we are just having a casual spar, we shall skip that. Please, have the first move. What he meant was he wanted to challenge both Fong and Bai single-handedly. Little Xiao stood outside the stage, gripping his fist in excitement. Big Brother Wei won as the weaker side back then, using his rank 3 middle stage cultivation to dominate the stage, and guarding 18 rounds of battle. Almost every fight was a classic. Now that he is rank 3 peak stage, I have to observe this battle carefully. Fong Yuan and Bai Ningbing gave each other a look, before suddenly attacking, moving towards Wei Yang from the left and right respectively. Going for close combat. Wei Yang stood at the center, not moving as his body glowed in a golden light, forming a battle armor, protecting his entire body. Pew pew pew. Fong Yuan and Bai Ningbing activated their spiral bone spear gu as they charged towards Wei Yang. Multiple bone spears spun as they penetrated the air, shooting towards Wei Yang. What gu is this? Wei Yang was confused in his mind. This was the first time he saw the bone spear gu. He did not dodge, intending to test out the power of the spiral bone spear gu, and took 3 hits. The light golden armor flickered, but managed to endure the hits. This gu is not bad, having a spiral force and is good at penetrating defenses. Wei Yang did not fluster, utilizing his primeval essence and causing the light armor to regain its toughness. My turn. He lightly shouted, grabbing the air with both hands, as 2 broadswords of light formed from this air, shining brilliantly. It appeared, Big Brother Wei's broadsword light gu. Little Xiao saw this, and spoke out in excitement. Wei Yang grabbed the 2 broadswords, sweeping his gaze and choosing to charge at Fong Yuan. Broadsword Light Gu and Sword Shadow Gu are known as the strongest attacking Gu among the rank 3 Gu worms. Seeing Wei Yang approaching, Fong Yuan's eyes shone with a sharp flash. Even though the Broadsword Light Gu was strong, he was not afraid. Jumping grass. 2 spring-like grass appeared on his feet, as he stepped on the ground, and after gathering energy, Fong Yuan's speed increased drastically. Canopy Gu, Flying Bone Shield. Fong Yuan's body shone with a white armor, and 3 white bone shields surrounded his body, circling continuously around his front, left, back and right. Good timing. Wei Yang shouted, as he rushed to Fong Yuan, slamming both of his broadswords from above, intending to strike. Fong Yuan did not dodge or avoid, raising his right fist and smashing right at it. Wei Yang's eyes shone with surprise, not expecting Fang Yuan to fight so bravely. Two broadswords of light slammed down, as the white bone shields automatically blocked it. The broadswords cut the white bone shields into halves, before landing on the white armor of the canopy Gu, giving off a strong white light. At the same time, Fang Yuan's fist is Wei Yang's stomach. Although he did not break the light golden armor, the huge force sent Wei Yang flying. Bai Ningbing rushed up at the crucial moment, waving her hand as multiple spiral bone spear Gu shot towards Wei Yang. The attack was ruthless and decisive, with the intention of sending Wei Yang to his grave. Ah, danger! Seeing this, little Xiao screamed out. Chapter 266, My name is Fang Zheng. Wei Yang was sent flying by Fang Yuan's fist, and before he stabilized himself, spiral bone spears came flying from above. The spiral bone spears penetrated the air, shooting like lightning with a crisp sound. At such a distance, Wei Yang could even see the spiral carvings on the bone spear tip. These spiral bone spear Gu, although strong and are able to penetrate defenses, are only rank 2 Gu worms, there is no threat in them. At that instant, Wei Yang's thoughts moved like lightning. Bai Ningbing's blue eyes were cold as ice. Wei Yang challenging both of them at the same time triggered the arrogance in her heart. Spiral bone spear can only restrict him. I don't have enough Gu. If I want to finish him, I'll need to use my fists and legs. She was a genius. When Fang Yuan sent Wei Yang flying, although it was just one hit, it showed Bai Ningbing his weakness. Wei Yang had never received a permanent strength boost from any Gu worms, he only had the strength of a normal human. This was a major weakness that could be exploited. Bai Ningbing took many steps ahead, following after the bone spears and raising her leg to kick harshly. Brother Wei. Little Xiao who was watching the match saw this scene and started to worry. If Wei Yang's movements were restricted by the bone spears, it would give Bai Ningbing a chance to strike. At the same time, if Fang Yuan cornered him, Wei Yang would be in a disadvantage. He. At the final moment, Wei Yang laughed. As the spiral bone spear was about to hit him, suddenly, his body shone in a white light, and he turned into a flash and vanished. He had this Gu indeed. Fang Yuan squinted. What quick speed! Bai Ningbing's pupils shrunk, feeling astonished. At the next second, the spiral bone spears pierced through the flagstone, stabbing into the ground. Bai Ningbing could not stop her momentum. With a bang, her leg crushed the flagstone. The spider web-like cracks enveloped the ground. Big Brother Wei's rainbow light Gu. I thought he might not use it in time, but to think he was waiting for that moment to escape, causing his enemies to hit nothing. Superb, this is a strong blow against the enemy's psychology. Little Xiao could tell the intentions of his actions. Seeing that they were about to gravely injure their enemy, an escape at the last moment would turn hope into disappointment, anyone would experience this change of emotion. Rainbow light tore through the air, as the light dispersed, Wei Yang's body appeared again. In the blink of an eye, he flew over 50 meters, more than half the battle stage, pulling great distance from Fang and Bai. Seeing such speed, Bai Ningbing's footsteps came to a halt. With the rainbow light Gu, Wei Yang could come and go as he pleases, fighting whenever he wants to. At this point, it was impossible for him to lose. Rainbow light Gu was a rank 3 Gu, capable of allowing a Gu master to turn into light and escape. It was the fastest among the rank 3 movement Gu. In contrast, Fang Yuan only had the jumping grass, while the other had no movement Gu. With Wei Yang's speed, they had no chance of hitting him. In terms of movement, the rainbow light Gu gave Wei Yang a huge advantage. Once this Gu was used, Fang and Bai could work together but still fall into a passive state. Guests, this is the Rainbow Light Gu, although it is rank 3, its speed far surpasses many rank 4 Gu. The speed is so fast even the Gu master cannot react in time, that is the first weakness. To use it, one has to use the lightning thoughts Gu or a flash of inspiration Gu, or others. Otherwise, by the time the Gu master reacts, they would have flown too far and even crashed into a wall. Wei Yang spoke, admitting the flaws of the Rainbow Light Gu. Its second weakness is that it expends too much primeval essence. Among rank 3 Gu, this expenditure is already middle-high tier consumption. There is a third weakness, but I shall not mention it, you can guess for yourselves. Is that the fact that you cannot use a strength Gu to raise your physical strength? Bai Ningbing immediately answered. This time, it was Wei Yang's turn to express shock. He gave a look of amazement. Miss Bai Yun really has great cognitive abilities. Indeed, if a Gu master uses a Gu worm to alter their body, and increase their strength, it will be difficult to utilize the Rainbow Light Gu. Their primeval essence expenditure will increase drastically, or worse, the light transformation might fail and the Rainbow Light Gu would be destroyed. But to think, after Bai Ningbing heard his praise, her expression turned cold as her gaze was like ice, staring at Wei Yang with killing intent. Hey, let me warn you, do not call me miss. Wei Yang's expression froze. What did I say wrong? Is it wrong to use the word miss? What a strange taboo. Wei Yang thought in his heart, as he apologized, I'm sorry for the offense, Lady Bai Yun. Veins popped on Bai Ningbing's forehead, as she gritted her teeth, do not use that either. Oh, then. Sir Bai Yun. Wei Yang observed her expression as he carefully chose his vocabulary. Bai Ningbing's face finally returned to normal. Wei Yang's lips curled into a smile, continuing, then 2 sirs, it is my turn to attack. Give me all you've got. Fang Yuan patted his chest, screaming and scaring Bai Ningbing who was right beside him. Sir He too is truly brave and admirable, then take my hit. Wei Yang praised. As he spoke, he turned into a white light and crashed towards Fang and Bai. Facing such speed, Fang and Bai could not even blink before this rainbow went through the gap between them and arrived behind them. The white light dispersed, and turned back into Wei Yang. He held 2 broadswords, and slashed them towards Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing respectively. Before this broadsword hit, Bai Ningbing felt her skin tighten. She immediately knew that the ice muscle's protection could not endure this blade, and she quickly retreated. Fang Yuan growled lightly, not dodging but activating the Canopy Gu and Flying Bone Shield Gu, sending his fist over. The light broadsword first split the white bone shield into half. Wei Yang turned into light and fled again. Seeing his fist about to land on Wei Yang's chest, Fang Yuan was just an inch away before missing entirely. The rainbow light flew away, and stopped far away. The entire exchange of blows was done at lightning speed. In less than a few seconds, Wei Yang had moved from a side of the battle stage to another, over 100 meters long. Again. Fang Yuan howled, battle intent burning in his eyes. Wei Yang turned into light again, appearing before Fang and Bai in an instant. Bai Ningbing could not endure it head-on, she could only use the spiral bone spear but Wei Yang's speed was too fast, causing her bone spears to hit air. Fang Yuan could only endure the hits passively, other than the first time, his fist never hit Wei Yang again. At once, light flashed across the battle stage continuously, like a bouncing ball trapped in a box. Meanwhile, Fang and Bai could barely take the hits, having completely lost their momentum. Is this Big Brother Wei's true power? Too impressive. Little Xiao observed the chaotic sight before him. Wei Yang's speed was terrific, like a specter moving in the shadows. After a few more minutes, he stopped his movements. If both guests want to compete in terms of expenditure, and are trying to exploit the weakness of my rainbow light goo which consumes massive amounts of primeval essence, I am afraid you are going to be disappointed. I have a light source goo in my hand. It is an assistance type goo whose only use is to allow a goo master's primeval essence expenditure to be halved when using a light type goo. Damn it! Bai Ningbing clenched her teeth in anger. Fong Yuan waved his hand about. No more, I can't win. Brother Wei, we concede. Wei Yang laughed heartily, cupping his fists. It has been an honor. Little Xiao, seeing the battle ended, immediately came over, with excitement still lingering on his face. Big Brother Wei is truly impressive, but both sirs managing to endure so long is equally impressive. You may not know, but Brother Wei has superior battle skills even though he is rank 3 peak stage. He is Lord Shang Yan Fei's third general, called the White Light Swordsman. If it was me, I would not even be able to exchange 20 blows with him. A loss is a loss, there is no big deal. Wei Yang, after I get my hands on suitable goo worms, I will challenge you once again. Bai Ningbing's expression was icy cold. From young, the arrogant her had never lost so badly. Her mood was obviously terrible. Little Xiao, seeing Bai Ningbing address Wei Yang by his name, showed displeasure on his face. Fong Yuan stood at the side. Brother Wei Yang held back already, I can feel it. After I buy some useful goo, I will spar with you again. Although I lost this time, I am still indignant. Next time, please use your full strength, do not worry about the consequences. Haha, Brother He too speaks his mind. It is my fault this time, next time I will definitely use my full ability. Wei Yang patted Fong Yuan's shoulder. That's the way. Brother Wei Yang, I accept my loss completely, let me treat you to some wine. Brother Xiao, you can come along too, and tell me about Brother Wei's heroic tales. I can only beat him after learning all about him right. Fong Yuan laughed. Little Xiao felt that this person, although ugly and lacked a ear, was very pleasant to look at. Compared to that freak, Bai Yun, his temper was way better. All right. Little Xiao laughed, fighting made us closer. I know a restaurant, newly opened, cheap, and also serves good food. We cannot make our guests pay, let me treat tonight, I hope Big Brother Wei can come too. Fong Yuan stared, how can we do that? Little Xiao is a local, while you two are guests, let him treat. Wei Yang came in to advise. Fong Yuan thought about it, okay, this time you will treat, but let me do it next time. I don't have money with me anyway, after I sell my recipe and get money, I will treat you two to a good meal. To speak the truth, after coming here, I have been shocked by the commodity prices. His words were a little cheeky, and also admitted that he was poor, causing Wei Yang and Little Xiao to laugh, thinking that Fong Yuan was a clear and upright man. Only Bai Ningbing knew Fong Yuan's acting skills, seeing this, she was used to it already. In the room, the three drank wine and spoke, announcing their names, pulling their relationships closer together. Only Bai Ningbing drank water, being alone and enjoying her peace. Little Xiao was called Xiao Yan, 27 years old, specializing in fire-type goo worms. Recently his cultivation rose by a small realm, to rank 3 middle stage, thus finally breaking through the 4th inner city's battle zone and reaching 3rd inner city. He Tu Bai Yun are just fake names, my real name is Gu Yu Fongzheng, she is Bai Ningbing. Fong Yuan pretended to be drunk and exposed some information. They had the Bai clan arrest warrant, as long as Shang clan investigated, the matter could not be kept secret. Fong Yuan gave it away on purpose, to give off the impression of having a clear conscience. Xiao Yan was a little moved. He and Wei Yang were demonic goo masters, Fong Yuan telling them his real name was an act of true friendship. Surname Gu Yu. Light flashed across Wei Yang's eyes. This was an important information. It seems that the mission given by the clan leader has been successfully completed. Chapter 267, Greatly Underestimated Fang Yuan's Shamelessness. Gu Fangzheng. Listening to Wei Yang's report, Shang Yanfei frowned slightly. Guyu was a distinct surname. Shang Yanfei searched through his memories and soon found it. Guyu clan, one of the 3 clans of Qingmao Mountain, having hundreds of years of history. Qingmao Mountain. Shang Yanfei's gaze brightened as he recalled an intel he got over half a year ago. Qingmao Mountain was mysteriously attacked and within a night, changed from a green and lively mountain to a deadly domain of ice and snow. Even till now, the ice and snow on Qingmao Mountain had yet to completely melt. No one knew what happened at Qingmao Mountain, but from all kinds of traces found there, people knew there had been a huge battle between Gu masters. Now, Qingmao Mountain's destruction was classified as a mysterious event and was already spread all over the southern border. As to what caused this, opinions differed from people to people. However, to certain people, the traces left on Qingmao Mountain made it obvious. The secret of the 10 extreme physiques was more or less known to the higher-ups of the Gu master world. The moment he got this intel, Shang Yanfei had also immediately guessed this was brought upon by one of the 10 extreme physiques, Northern Dark Ice Soul Physique. If that is the case, Gu Fangzheng's origins can be explained. The group sent to investigate the incident on Mu Bei Mountain also sent a letter saying there was no suspicious point. Shang Yanfei drew up an approximate outline of the whole affairs in his mind. Now, there is only one doubt remaining. Why did they conceal their identities and hide in the caravan? Shang Yanfei already had many conjectures, but it still needed to be investigated. Right, you sparred with them, how were their skills? Shang Yanfei asked. Wei Yang's expression was solemn as he respectfully reported, geniuses. Given time, these 2 will definitely surpass me. Oh, you have such a high opinion of them? Shang Yanfei was slightly amazed. Wei Yang nodded and continued, they might be concealing their cultivation with some Gu worms, but being able to last so long in battle, they should at least be rank 3. Considering their young age, these 2 should both have a great aptitude. Shang Yanfei smiled, but Wei Yang, a great aptitude only represents talent and not everything. You, yourself, are the best proof of this. You have only be great aptitude but have become one of my external elders. Furthermore, how many a great talents have died in your hands over these years? In ordinary clans, a great aptitude was an extraordinary matter. However, to Shang clan, they were rather common. One reason was because it was a large clan and there were many clansmen. Another was because they recruited demonic Gu masters. Those demonic Gu masters who distinguished themselves in battle arena definitely had extraordinary aptitudes. And the third reason was because Shang clan's riches were as high as a mountain, they had the ability to purchase aptitude-changing Gu worms. You praise me too much, Lord Clan Leader. Wei Yang modestly said and continued, I also understand this logic, thus I am even more sure these 2 are extraordinary. They have rich combat talents and have a sort of innate sense towards the battle situation, as if they were born to fight. They also did not have a complete set of Gu worms, but they were able to last for so long just with 2 to 3 Gu, it truly was amazing. As to their disposition, they were tough and were not discouraged when disadvantaged. When I exerted pressure on them, they were able to make a breakthrough and constantly adjust themselves. They also have tacit and great teamwork. As the battle continued, they were able to hold their ground even more stably, their improvement was extremely clear. Individually, the 2 have some differences. Gu Fangzheng is straightforward, charging forward with incomparable bravery and has a lofty disposition. As for that Bai Ningbing, she is quick-witted with a sharp gaze and only moves when she is sure of it. She had been constantly trying to find my weakness during the battle. In particular, Gu Fangzheng admitted his loss calmly when I said I possessed a light source Gu. He is broad-minded and absolutely has a larger heart than any ordinary man. Lord Clan Leader, these two, one is a young tiger of the lands while the other is a dragon whelp of the seas. One yang and one yin, one domineering and another scheming, a perfect combination, the brilliance of twin stars, each enhancing the other's strength. If we can recruit them, it will be a huge asset to Shang clan. Shang Yanfei was moved. Before, he did not put Fong and Bai in his eyes, now his interest was greatly aroused as he listened to Wei Yang. Wei Yang, you have followed me for many years, I trust in your foresight. But there is no need to undervalue yourself, they might not necessarily be able to top you even after they grow up. You are hindered by lacking aptitude, otherwise with your talent, you would be even more outstanding than now. There is no need to worry, if a Reform Gu appear, I will definitely help you get it. Reform Gu could raise a Gu master's aptitude, it was extremely rare and expensive. Wei Yang's eyes turned red with emotions, I won't forget this kindness for as long as I live. I, Shang Yanfei, will never treat my loyal followers unfairly. Leave now, continue attending to them for a few days and see what they think about Shang clan and whether we can recruit them or not. Yes, clan leader. In a blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Nanqiu Garden. In the lounge, Fang Yuan and Xianxia was sitting opposite each other. Fang Yuan leisurely tasted the tea while Xianxia's expression looked rather unsightly. These few days, I have been sincerely coming to look for Sir, but you have been raising your price again and again. First it was 650,000, but you have raised it by tens of thousands every day and now Sir actually wants 800,000. Is Sir possibly playing with me to pass time? Xianxia was feeling stifled and talked with clenched teeth. If it was before, he would have already burst out in anger and smashed the tea cup on Fang Yuan's face. But now, he could not do that. Why? Because this guy could directly complain to the clan leader. I still don't know what relation they have with Lord Father. These days, Wei Yang has been accompanying them around the city. What kind of person was Wei Yang? He is known as the third general and is Lord Father's trusted aide. His actions don't usually represent himself, but rather Lord Father's will. But why is Lord Father giving such deferential treatment to these two guys that appeared out of nowhere? Xianxia was bothered and bewildered. Since that day, he had been crazily investigating the two. But it was in vain. He was merely a young master, his authority was limited to Shang clan city. He was far from having the huge capability of Shang Yanfei. The investigations bore no fruits, so he was forced to make guesses. Why is Lord Father expressing his goodwill? Is it because of the inheritance in their hands? No, an inheritance might interest an ordinary clan, but not ours. Unless it is the inheritance of a rank 6 Gu immortal, it would just be icing on the cake. Or is it because they were talents? No way, there are so many loyal demonic Gu masters in the battle stage, they would die to join Shang clan, and are extremely skilled in fighting. If Father is not interested in those people, why would he want these two? No matter how he thought about it, Xianxia could not think of an answer. When these two guesses were rejected, a thought emerged in Xianxia's mind. Are these two Father's illegitimate child? Isn't Shang Tuahai, the current young clan leader, Father's illegitimate child? Xianxia pondered it again and felt that it couldn't be. The implication of being Father's bloodline is too great. When Shang Tuahai was discovered, he was firmly protected and safeguarded, unlike these two. Xianxia kept on agonizing over this but could not make progress. And it was because of this, he was even more afraid of Fong and Bai. The most terrifying things were often the unknown. Fang Yuan could tell this young master Xianxia was becoming more and more restless and impatient over these few days. This was what he wanted to see. This was also one of the reasons he was intentionally raising the prices every day. If he directly raised 650,000 to 800,000, the negotiations would definitely collapse. But by raising the price by tens of thousands time and again, it would instead wear down Xianxia's resistance in his firm resolute heart. The time was ripe. Fang Yuan placed the teacup down and smiled. Everything has their worth. This might only be a Gu master's inheritance to others, but to you, esteemed young master, it is the final hope to protect your young master status. As such, the price should be a little higher, and as the evaluation date draws closer, the price for this inheritance will naturally keep on getting higher. Thus, I have been increasing the price every other day. Isn't this something natural? If the price is lowered, how could it be worthy of your final hope? How could it be worthy of such an important position as Shang Clan's young master? After all, only Shang Clan young masters can compete for young clan leader's position. Xianxia's eyes shook with anger. This was blatant blackmailing. This guy was raising the price as he pleased. How could he be so shameless? Xianxia wished he could chop Fang Yuan into pieces. But he thought of the position of young master and was able to barely restrain himself. You are really scheming. If I spend 800,000, it will be a complete loss and will instead lower my evaluation. Those elders in charge of evaluation are not stupid. Thus, I simply can't buy it at this price. Fang Yuan had already expected this answer. The corner of his lips slightly curled up into a smile. Therefore, I have a good solution. I will be openly selling it to you in 650,000, but you will actually be giving me 800,000. You will maintain your young master's position and I will be getting a reasonable price. It is a complete win-win situation. Xianxia's expression immediately changed and stared at Fang Yuan with wide eyes. You want me to make a false account? This is impossible. If I am found out, no matter when, my young master's status will be revoked and moreover, I will receive a severe punishment. Fang Yuan gave a frivolous look. You can't say that. Who said anything about false account? I am only selling the secret recipe to you, and you feeling that I am an upright man, kindly gave me some primeval stones as a gift. There is simply no relation between the two. At that instance, Xianxia could only look at Fang Yuan, stupefied and speechless. He had previously thought Fang Yuan was shameless, but now saw that he had greatly underestimated this guy's shamelessness. Chapter 268, Sudden Wealth. Xianxia left worriedly. Before he left, he told Fang Yuan that this matter was important and he needed more time to consider it. But, the fact that he was considering it meant that success was near. Fang Yuan had seen through this person, knowing that the matter is as good as decided. In fact, he could even raise the prices again when the time comes. Right now, he was hesitant, so Fang Yuan could not use prices to agitate him. Once he is determined, then the prices will soar again. That is simply too easy. 2 days later, Xianxia carried a haggard expression as he visited Fang Yuan again. I agree, let's deal according to what you have requested. He gritted his teeth. After showing a hesitant expression for a long time, he finally relented. Trust me, you will definitely remember this decision. Come, drink. Fang Yuan smiled lightly, pouring a glass of wine for Xianxia. Xianxia raised his cup, drinking the wine in one mouthful. What sort of shitty wine is this? After drinking it, he frowned and scolded. This is the cheapest rice wine. Lord Young Master, I have no money to purchase good wine. Fang Yuan laughed lightly. You will have it soon enough. Puff. Xianxia breathed out heavily. He had first thought about it, and as he concentrated on making a decision, it was a painful process. But now that he has decided, he felt relaxed. All right, I have prepared the agreement, take a look. Fang Yuan brought over a proposal. Xianxia glanced at it, and stared in anger, his eyes wide with rage as he slammed the table and screamed, 950,000. You raised the prices again. Last time, you said 800,000, but it has only been a few days and you raised it by 150,000. Do you think I'm made of gold? Scoundrel. You think my primeval stones fall from the sky? Fang Yuan smiled lightly as he said calmly, it has already been 3 days, of course the price has increased, you know it yourself. Xianxia's forehead was popping with veins, as he jumped from his seat, do you think I am easy to bully? I do not have so much money. This tiny little inheritance, you want 950? You are like a lion opening its huge mouth. Calm down, anger will harm your health, Lord Young Master, this is not a tiny inheritance, it concerns your young master position. Think about it, every year, one young master will be eliminated. How many people are craving for this spot? Fang Yuan said casually. Once he heard the young master position, the furious Xianxia lost his rage. Fang Yuan looked at his expression, knowing that 950 was over his limit, and relented, all right, then how about 900,000 primeval stones? I concede to you. Xianxia slowly sat down. He had only gotten into the young master position for a year, and had to deal with the evaluations. The actual amount of primeval stones he managed to pocket was only around 400,000. No doubt, after this transaction, his 1 year of savings will be depleted. The assets that he had managed to save would be gone. But concerning the young master position, he had to relent. He was solemn for a moment, before nodding, then 900,000 it is, but I do not trust a paper agreement, we need to swear, let's use the poison Val Gu. Fang Yuan showed hesitation. Why, are you afraid? How would I know if you would not run away if we do not use the poison Val Gu? We have to do this, there is no way I'm giving in on this. Xianxia's attitude was firm. Fang Yuan had expected this to happen anyway. In that case, let me do it first. Fang Yuan stretched out his left hand. Only then did Xianxia let out a smile, calling out the poison Val Gu. Poison Val Gu is a purple-red worm, only finger size and has a dangerous-looking mouth. It was a rank 3 consumable goo. It flew to Fang Yuan's left index finger, and bit on it. At once, a heart-burning pain assaulted Fang Yuan's nerves. Fang Yuan endured the pain as he started to read the details on the proposal. After he finished, the poison Val Gu nearly doubled in size, as it absorbed Fang Yuan's heart blood. Soon after, the poison Val Gu flew to Xianxia's finger and started to suck blood. Xianxia gripped the paper, and used a trembling voice to read the details, and the poison Val Gu doubled in size again. His face turned pale from pain, as he clenched his teeth and drew in a deep breath. This goddamn agreement, why is it so lengthy? Can't you write less words? Is there anything to add? Fang Yuan shook his head. Xianxia's lips curled, revealing a smile. But his face was twisted, and his smile was a little hideous. Bam! The poison Val Gu stuffed with blood, suddenly exploded. But no blood splattered but instead turned into numerous red light spots. The light spots flew towards Fang Yuan and Xianxia, like rain falling into a pond, and fused into their bodies. This shows that the poison Val Gu has taken effect. If both sides read the details and it did not fulfill their true inner intentions, after the poison Val Gu explodes, it would turn into a puddle of stale blood. This situation means that one side or both had violated the vow, causing it to fail. Seeing this, Xianxia's smile became even deeper. He looked at Fang Yuan. He, we have vowed already, if you change your mind in the future, or violate the agreement, you will turn into a puddle of blood and die. Fang Yuan's expression remained the same, only saying, "Where are my primeval stones?" Xianxia shrugged, "Don't worry, why would I violate the agreement, here." He tossed out a gu. This gu was like a ball, as exquisite as a crystal, half transparent and palm-sized. There was a cloudy figure in the ball, as if it has sealed numerous clouds. This white cloud figure looked like a hunchback old man carrying a walking stick. The old man had long white hair, having an immortal feeling as the wrinkles on his face looked extremely realistic, and he was smiling sincerely. This is the primeval elder gu. A gu specifically used to store primeval stones. As the saying goes, professionals have their domain of expertise. The primeval elder gu is only a rank 3, but it can seal up to 1,000,000 primeval stones. There is 870,000 primeval stones here, the remaining 30,000, I will pass them to you when I finish gathering them. Xianxia passed the primeval elder gu to Fang Yuan with much reluctance. Inside, 600,000 was the trade credit of Shang clan, the remaining 270 was Xianxia's personal savings. After Fang Yuan received it, he cooperated with Fang Yuan in refining it. Primeval Elder Gu changed owners, and change occurred within the clouds. The old man was originally looking at Xianxia, but now he started to smile towards Fang Yuan instead. Fang Yuan moved the Primeval Elder Gu around, but no matter which direction he moved, the clouds would transform and the old man would smile towards Fang Yuan regardless. Actually, this gu is quite interesting. If the primeval stones inside are little, the old man would frown and show a bitter expression. If the amount was just nice, the old man would be expressionless. And finally, the more the number of primeval stones towards the limit, the more the old man would smile. Xianxia saw Fang Yuan manipulate the primeval elder gu and knew he was clear on how the gu worked. He snorted, "This primeval elder gu is quite valuable, I cannot give it to you for free. I bought this on the auction and it cost me 6,600 primeval stones." Fang Yuan nodded. Rank 3 gu were sold by thousands of primeval stones, and the primeval elder gu was a rare one, it was definitely worth that amount. He immediately took out primeval stones to give Xianxia. Xianxia used an ordinary storage gu and kept these primeval stones, feeling horrible on the inside. These were originally his primeval stones. Never mind, as long as I can keep my young master position, all is possible, I can earn my primeval stones back, and for this guy who extorted me, he will die a horrible death. Xianxia was not a big-hearted person. Fang Yuan robbed him of all his fortune, and he even had to borrow around for the final 30,000. White bone recipe was normally 600,000, but Fang Yuan sold it for 900. Xianxia rubbed his nose. After suffering such a loss, he felt extreme hatred towards Fang Yuan. "The final 30,000, I will pass it to you in 3 days. This matter is known by the two of us only, no third party is allowed to know. Not even your companion. Don't think of finding a loophole, it is useless." Xianxia got up and left, he could no longer stand being there. Every extra second he looked at Fang Yuan's hideous face, the anger in his heart would accumulate a bit more. "There are no loopholes in the agreement, you looked through didn't you?" Fang Yuan showed a plain expression. Xianxia snorted. He was born of Shang clan, being influenced from young, and also having managed this shop for a year, there were no loopholes that could avoid his notice. "I bet you wouldn't dare to break the agreement." He laughed in disdain, quickly leaving. Fang Yuan did not take it to heart, he knew that Xianxia's current mood was very understandable. As for the poison vow, he was not going to obey it. Poison Vow Gu's restriction is very strong, otherwise, no Gu masters would use it. No way of exposing it to a third party, that is absolute. Any curveballs were risking one's own life. Like earlier, Fang Yuan passed 6,600 primeval stones to Xianxia. This was an extra action, he could have just deducted it from the 30,000 primeval stones. But no. In the poison vow, they stated 900,000, thus Xianxia had to fork out 900,000 primeval stones to Fang Yuan. This was the cold hard rules. 3 days later, Xianxia gathered 30,000 primeval stones, and handed it to Fang Yuan. At the same time, Fang Yuan passed the recipe to him. Of course, the most valuable bone flesh unity Gu was not sold. Xianxia only knew of the bone spear Gu, spiral bone spear Gu etc. After looking at the recipe, he found many other recipes that uses the bone spear Gu as the base, and felt pleased by it, his mood turning better. Fang Yuan then sold the bone spear Gu, spiral bone spear Gu as well as the bone spike Gu to him. As with their original agreement, it was 40,620 primeval stones. As a result, after this transaction, Fang Yuan's assets rose to 934,020 primeval stones too. With his savings, the total is about 945,003. Fang Yuan placed most of his primeval stones into the primeval elder Gu. To prevent accidents, he also placed some on his body, and some into the Cicada flower. In my previous life at this time, I was still slogging in the caravan, with only 50 to 60 primeval stones on me. But right now I am nearly a millionaire. Fang Yuan compared this with his memories, and the advantages of his rebirth can be easily seen. Of course, he took huge risks as well. The larger the risk, the greater the benefits. There is no free lunch in this world. Effort might not reap reward, but to gain reward, one has to invest first. In a flash, 3 days passed. Shang clan's investigations ended, and Wei Yang brought Shang Yanfei's invitation over. 2 esteemed guests, my lord clan leader has set up a clan banquet, specifically ordering me to invite both of you over. Clan banquet? The moment is finally here. Fang Yuan thought. Chapter 269, Clan Banquet. A roomy courtyard was where Shang Yanfei set up the clan banquet. It was an outdoor feast, because within the mountain, there was no need to worry about storm or rain. The courtyard was neither luxurious nor elegant, it was even rather old. There were a dozen or so tables arranged in a circle in the courtyard, which was already looking crowded from that. There were some fruits and snacks arranged on the tables and also labels indicating which seat belonged to who. 3 seats were already occupied. Big brother, do you know why Lord Father called us this time? Shang Chaofeng asked vaguely while popping a red fruit into his mouth. The eldest Shang Qiu was sitting upright, his eyes closed as he rested. Hearing the question, he opened his eyes by a sliver and spoke in a deep voice, Lord Father has recently come out of closed cultivation, he is holding this clan banquet because he misses us, what's so strange about it? Big brother might be right, but when has Lord Father ever held a casual banquet? Look, don't you think there are a few more seats today? From the side, Shang Pu Lao interjected. Shang Chaofeng snickered, and Shang Qiu closed his eyes again. Shang Pu Lao's gaze flickered, he was in charge of the red light zone and managed brothels of all sizes, he would be the fastest person to get any news. In truth, he had already heard some talks, he was just about to continue when suddenly his ears twitched, someone has arrived. All 3's gazes turned towards the gate. Creak, the gate was pushed open and 3 people walked in. Wei Yang was at the front followed by Fang and Bai. Fang and Bai had already been here before, it was that private residence they had been called to before. This private residence is the place where Lord Clan Leader, when he was a young master, was suppressed by the alliance of other young masters. Lord Clan Leader took a step back and abandoned the position of young master of his own accord, becoming an ordinary clansman. During that fallen period, he stayed here. Later, when he became the clan leader, he maintained this place as a reminder to himself and later generations. The clan banquets are always held here. Wei Yang opened the gate and introduced. Immediately after, he saw the three people in the courtyard. Oh, 3 young masters are already here. Shang Qiu, Shang Chao Feng and Shang Pu Lao stood up one after another and cupped their hands to Wei Yang. Our greetings, Elder Wei Yang. Wei Yang was one of the 5 great generals under Shang Yanfei and a major figure in Shang clan. Every single young master competing for the position of young clan leader has to go through his evaluation. My greetings to all 3 young masters. These 2 are esteemed guests invited by Lord Clan Leader. Wei Yang also cupped his hands in greeting, his expression calm. He was an elder, his status was higher than the young master positions, and as an important figure in the clan, he would not fawn on these young masters. Sirs, please take a seat. Wei Yang led Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing to their seats. The 3 young masters looked at each other. They could see bewilderment, surprise and curiosity in each other's eyes. This was a clan banquet, why would any strangers be invited? Who are these 2? Their seats are actually closer to Lord Father's than ours. Wei Yang also sat down and continued on with a smile. Let me make the introductions. This is Shang Qiu, Lord Clan Leader's eldest son. He manages the caretaking zone. This is Clan Leader's 4th son Shang Chao Feng. He manages all the Gu fighting arenas in the city. This is Shang Pu Lao. He manages all the brothels in Red Light Zone. Shang Qiu was robust and his voice was deep. One could tell he was a calm person from one look. He was the oldest, already nearing 30. Shang Chao Feng had a messy hair and high nose bridge. He was giving off a wild aura. Shang Pu Lao looked the most delicate, a thin physique, white face, beautiful eyes and a loose bearing showing that he loitered around with women all year round. Qiu greets both esteemed guests. Shang Qiu took the lead to cup his hands as a greeting. Wei Yang didn't introduce Fang and Bai. The 3 were smart and naturally wouldn't stupidly pursue it. The 3 young masters are too polite. I am He Tu and this is my companion Bai Yun. Fang Yuan introduced. The names were clearly fake. This made the 3 young masters more confused about Fang and Bai's origins. They could only laugh and go through the motion. As the time for evening banquet came closer, more young masters appeared. Shang Pai Xiu who managed rock gambling dens, Shang Xuan Ni who managed restaurants and silk stores, Shang Fu Shi who managed auctions, Shang Bai Shi who managed substitute refinement zone, and Shang Yazi who Fang Yuan was already familiar with. Wei Yang introduced them to Fang and Bai. All these young masters more or less revealed strange looks as they saw Fang and Bai. They sat down as talks commenced. With the increased number of people, the small courtyard gradually became lively. Just before the banquet started, the gates suddenly opened and a young master hurriedly rushed in. He was tall and thin, thick eyebrows and fierce gaze. He was young master Shang Baiyan who was in charge of Shang Clan City's city guards. The city guards handled all sorts of disputes and contradictions, maintaining the law and order in the city, so it was the busiest. After greeting Fang and Bai, Shang Baiyan was just sitting down, when a blood-colored flame flickered on the main seat as Shang Yanfei appeared. Shang Yanfei was wearing a white robe with gold inlaid cuffs. Scarlet hair flew around wildly before resting on his waist. Combined with his extremely handsome face, it formed into an aura and charisma that was unique to him. Your children greet Lord Father. The many young masters stood up one after another before half kneeling down on the ground and greeting Xianxia unitedly. Lord Clan Leader. Wei Yang stood up. At the same time, Fang and Bai also stood up to greet him. Take your seats. Xianxia lay back against the wide-backed chair and casually waved his hand. Immediately, 7 colored beautiful lights sprinkled down like rain. The beautiful lights landed on the tables and turned into all kinds of fine dishes, their fragrance immediately spreading in the small courtyard. Fang Yuan instantly recognized the gu as gourmet food box gu. It was a rank 5 gu, especially used to store delicacies and maintain their state. In his previous life, Fang Yuan tried hard to make a living in the caravan. He had no one to rely on after the destruction of Guyu clan. The sudden emergence of an alliance of demonic Gu masters on Tian Mountain overstepped the bottom line of the righteous paths. All great clans formed an alliance and besieged Tian Mountain. One of the heads of the allied forces, Xianxia, used this gourmet food box Gu to provide for the armies. With just a wave of his sleeve, tens of thousands of soldiers were provided with gourmet food, becoming an enormous help in raising their morale. Since then, gourmet food box Gu became a symbol of Xianxia and was a conversation topic for many people. At that time, Fang Yuan was able to become a small boss of the lowest level with his advantages as a transmigrator. He joined a sub-branch of a caravan which was in charge of transporting supplies to the Righteous Path allied forces. He had personally been able to see the grandeur of Xianxia using gourmet food box Gu. Dazzling 7-colored lights filled the sky and shone down upon the world. It was a magnificent and grand atmosphere. Never expected that I would see this gourmet food box Gu years in advance and also become an esteemed guest of Shang clan. Fang Yuan heaved a sigh inwardly. There was clear difference between his previous life and this life. This was the enormous advantage of rebirth. And this advantage was from spring-autumn cicada, which was the accumulation and accomplishment of his previous life struggles. Xianxia spread the dishes and immediately addressed his sons. We have 2 esteemed guests with us today, you all need to toast them. Xianxia, you are the eldest, set an example. With Xianxia personally telling them, Shang clan young masters did not dare to act slowly even though they were bewildered. Xianxia immediately stood up and raised a wine glass, saying with his deep voice, Xianxia toasts the 2 esteemed guests. With that, he swigged down the glass of wine. Fang Yuan also drank down a glass of wine while Bai Ningbing still drank water. Xianxia was the oldest among these young masters. He was almost 30 but his appearance looked quite mature as if he was 40. By contrast, his father Xianxia looked like he was a youth in his 20s. The contrast between father and son was quite an interesting sight. I had a good talk with the 2 esteemed guests before. Esteemed guests, if you have time later, you could come to my zone to have fun. Gu battles are truly interesting. Shang Chaofeng also stood up. Fang Yuan's lips curled up into a smile. He knew quite a bit about Shang Chaofeng though this was the first time they met. This man was very aggressive about winning and was ruthless and cunning. In Fang Yuan's previous life, at one time, he had been the biggest hindrance to Xianxia's position as Shang clan young master. 4th brothers Gu battles are too bloody, the best is still the delight of beauties singing and dancing for you. Shang Pu Lao retorted Shang Chaofeng before proposing a toast to Fang and Bai, his beautiful eyes flashing with light. I wish to talk about romance and love with the 2 esteemed guests. If we have time, definitely. Fang Yuan said with a smile and chugged down the wine. This banquet looked like those for celebrities in his eyes. Most of these Shang clan young masters would have their own story that would spread throughout the southern border in future. Xianxia had many children but these people here were able to distinguish themselves in such an intense competition. clearly showing their abilities that surpassed others. One could call them a giant among men or unpolished jade stones. Moreover, they each had their own ways and styles of doing things. Right now as they converged together in the same place, it was like a pearl shining off with light and darkness. For the time being, there was not much to say about eldest son Xianxia, second son Xianxia, fourth son Xiang Chaofeng and eighth son Xiang Pulao. Ninth son Xiang Xuanni had a lion-like mouth and broad nose. He seemed to be using some type of goo, as every time he breathed, light yellow smoke came out from his nose and curled around him. 10th son Xiang Baishi was short and stout, looked honest and did not seem to have anything remarkable about him. But Fang Yuan knew Xiang Baishi was hiding enormous strength that was higher than his by several times. 12th son Xiang Baiyan would have a marriage alliance with Tai clan, and come to become Southern Border's second divine detective after Tai Shuelang. 13th son Xiang Fu Shi was very intelligent. His advice when the righteous path allied forces attacked Tian Mountain caused huge damage to demonic Gu masters time and again. And the 21st son Xiang Pai Xiu, he was the youngest and was a late bloomer. Many years later, when Shang clan fell into ruins, he threw himself into the demonic path and became a devil whose evil reputation spread far and wide over the southern border. Father, I am sorry I am late. As the toasts continued, the courtyard gate was opened and a girl walked in. She was Shang Qiwen, 16th daughter of Shang Yanfei and held control over battle arenas. She had a fair face and her two eyes shone with a smart gaze. She was a lively and charming person. After everyone finished toasting the wine, Shang Yanfei raised his wine cup and faced Fang and Bai. Thank you for protecting Xianxia all the way, that was the only reason I could gain a new daughter. Once he said so, everyone present was stunned. Chapter 270, Reward by Shang Yanfei. Daughter? The gang of young masters showed an astonished expression, looking towards one another. Shang Yizi realized at once, patting his own forehead. So this was it. This was why father met the two with courtesy. The mysterious veil was lifted, and Shang Yizi looked towards Fang Yuan, great hatred hidden in his gaze. He was no longer afraid. Now that he knew the reason, after the evaluation when he regains his footing, he would slowly deal with those two scoundrels. At once, the place fell into silence. Shang Yanfei smiled as he observed the people, giving them time to absorb the new information. Fang Yuan, cooperatively, expressed shock, as he was a little stunned, and muttered with a suspicious gaze, "Don't tell me?" "That's right." Shang Yanfei looked towards him, nodding. "It is that Lady Zhang both of you escorted and protected in the caravan. She is my daughter. Once she stepped into Shang clan city, I detected her bloodline and have already reunited with her." Zhang Xianci. Bai Ningbing immediately followed. Shang Yanfei laughed heartily. He, she is no longer Zhang now, but Shang. Both of you saved the life of my precious daughter, you are the benefactor of my Shang clan, thus you deserve a toast from us. Saying so, the door was opened by someone lightly. The young female Gu master Tian Lan wore a servant attire as she pushed the door open, returning to Shang Xinc's side. "Missy." Xiao Dai looked at the courtyard full of people, and felt nervous. "Let's go in." Shang Xinci breathed out calmly, under everyone's watchful gaze, walked into the courtyard. Suddenly, her steps halted, showing surprise and joy on her face. She saw Fang and Bai. It really is her. Seeing Shang Xinci, Bai Ningbing's pupils shrunk to pin-size as she was completely and utterly stunned. In the entire courtyard, no one could understand the shock in her heart. Bai Ningbing's shock was not from Shang Xinci, but Fang Yuan instead. She was an intelligent person, the moment she saw Xianxia, she understood at once what Fang Yuan's true motive was. Xianxia is Xianxia, thus he protected her. How did he know her identity? Was this all part of his scheme? At that moment, Bai Ningbing's thoughts whirled as a storm brew in her heart. Brother He Tu, Sister Bai Yun, why are you here? Xianxia stared at Fang Yuan without blinking, her eyes shining brightly. Cier, father said I would give you a surprise, didn't I? Shang Yanfei laughed gently. Xianxia bowed and paid respects. Thank you father, this is the happiest day I've had since coming to Shang Clan City. After the initial chaos, she had already accepted Shang Yanfei as her birth father. No matter how much her father had let down her mother, he was still her family. Even if Xianxia had grudge and hatred towards Shang Yanfei, the kinship that tied them together could not be severed, especially for a kind lady like her. Shang Yanfei heard her call him father for the first time, and his lips curled up, showing a radiant smile. Xianxia turned around again, showing anxiety, as she explained to Fang Yuan, Brother He Tu, I was not intentionally lying to you. After mother passed away, she instructed me to come to Shang Clan City. I only understood her efforts and the truth after meeting father. The words were like lightning bolts striking Bai Ningbing's heart. Her blue eyes squinted into a line, as her heart was filled with surprise and confusion. Even Xianxia did not know her identity. Why? Why does Fang Yuan know everything? Originally, Fang Yuan was shrouded in a mist in her heart, unable to observe him clearly. But now, the mist thickened, and Fang Yuan became even more mysterious and unpredictable. So that's it, I was wondering why Shang Clan was treating me so well. So this is the reason. Fang Yuan sighed as he raised his head, then slowly shook his head, exclaiming, to think that you are Shang Clan leader's daughter. Brother He Tu, can you forgive me? Xianxia gripped her hand, asking nervously. Shang Yanfei frowned lightly, seeing his daughter's attitude, he knew that she held him in high regard. Fang Yuan laughed, no matter, why would I blame you? The unknowing party is innocent, in fact, I have lied to you too. What? Xianxia froze. Fang Yuan rubbed his nose, He Tu, Bai Yun are just fake names. Xianxia smiled gently, lightly saying, I guessed that long ago. Fang Yuan hesitated deliberately, then gritted his teeth and cupped his fist, I am ashamed, my real name is Guyu Fangzheng, this is my companion Bai Ningbing. Guyu Fangzheng. Xianxia repeated this name several times, memorizing it to heart. Shang Yanfei's smile also widened, he appreciated Fang Yuan's honesty. The truth is, he had investigated long ago. Although Guyu clan was wiped out, Shang clan had its ways to find out information from Jia clan. Guyu village had this person called Guyu Fangzheng, and this person had a great aptitude, and was the young clan leader candidate. At the same time, Bai Ningbing was the Bai clan's young clan leader candidate. The two were hailed as geniuses. As for why they had to hide themselves and sneak into the caravan, this was easier to investigate. Because of Bai Gu Mountain's inheritance, Bai clan's two young masters died in their hands. At the same time, they took over half of the inheritance away. Bai clan issued an arrest warrant which was the best proof. So that's why my heart was palpitating earlier. Shang Pu Lao laughed. This child congratulates Lord Father. Shang Bai she said. If you face any problems, tell Big Brother. Shang Qiu looked at Xianxia and said. This is awesome, I have a new sister. This banquet was worth coming. Shang Qiwen laughed. The young masters recovered from their shock, and quickly showed their affection. This is a joyful occasion for us all, because you have all gotten a new blood-related sister. Shang Yanfei looked at his children, extremely clear of their mental state. Shang Xianxia's appearance is no doubt a threat. From now on, there would be one more person vying for the young master position. Back then, wasn't Shang Tuahai father's illegitimate child? Right now he is the Shang clan young clan leader. Actually there is no need to worry, Zhang clan is a subsidiary of Wu clan, and have enmity with Shang clan. Shang Xianci has no foundation here, she is easy to deal with. The young masters showed a smiling face, but their hearts were weighing the situation. The imperial family has no place for kinship. The emperor's throne is crucial for the greatest benefits, not even kinship can complete. Shang clan is the southern border overlord, whoever rises to the position of clan leader in the future would be one of the parties that had a say in the entire southern border. High and mighty, ascending to the peak of the mortal realm, the benefits were unbelievable. Which generation of Shang clan leader did not undergo a ferocious battle, before they ascended to the position painstakingly? Shang Yanfei had gone through this before, so he was clear of the situation right now. Thus, his heart went out to Shang Xinci even more. Right now, by announcing her identity, although it was to protect her, it also threw her into this spiral of competition. Come, Cier, sit here. Shang Yanfei patted the seat below him, saying. Yes. Shang Xinci replied, looking deeply at Fang Yuan as Fang Yuan nodded at her with a smile. Shang Xinci walked over, sitting beside Shang Yanfei. Xiao Lan, Xiao Dai, these two servants were close behind her. Seeing this, everyone's expression was strange. Since they were born, they had never seen father love one of his children to this extent. Even his illegitimate son Shang Tuahai did not receive such treatment. Alright, all of you, take a seat. Shang Yanfei waved his hand, looking towards Fang and Bai again. He spoke, Pu Fangzheng, by Ningbing, the two of you saved my precious daughter, and escorted her here. Our family is deeply indebted to you, if you have any requests, you may say it now. As the Shang clan leader, I will do my best to satisfy your needs. The young masters turned to look at Fang and Bai, with a look of envy. This was the gratitude of Shang clan leader, a promise by the southern border overlord, his words were as heavy as a mountain. But Fang Yuan shook his head, Lord clan leader, the reason we protected Lady Shang Xinci is due to her previous kindness. Our debt has already been repaid, we do not owe each other anything. As he said so, everyone showed a shocked expression. Shang Fu Shi quickly reacted, squinting, praising the ingenuity of the answer. Fang and Bai saved the Shang Yanfei's daughter, he had to reward them handsomely. If he does not, how would outsiders look at Shang clan? If any Shang clan young master encountered danger in the future, who would help them? Shang Xinci saw Fang Yuan rejecting the reward, and quickly got anxious, saying to Shang Yanfei, Father, during the caravan trip, Brother He too lost much of his assets too. Shang Yanfei was a brilliant man, before Shang Xinci finished her words, he understood her intentions. This was to sought money for Fang and Bai. He nodded, since both of you are Gu masters, I shall gift 1,000,000 primeval stones to express my thanks. Hearing this, many young masters almost drooled. Although they controlled much of Shang clan's assets, but it was under everyone's supervision and there was a yearly evaluation, they could hardly line their own pockets. Shang Yizi had talent, but was too greedy, causing his business results to be in jeopardy. Fang Yuan shook his head again, to speak the truth, I had gone through a peril situation to snatch an inheritance. After selling the recipe, I no longer lack primeval stones. Oh, is that so? Shang Yanfei looked at Xianxia with deep meaning. Xianxia was so scared his heart nearly jumped out, his mouth went dry and cold sweat gathered on his forehead. Regarding Xianxia's matter, how could Shang Yanfei not know? Even if he faked the accounting, what happened could be easily guessed. But Xianxia was still his own son, even if he violated the Shang clan rules, as long as it was not exposed, that counts as his skill too. Being at this position, he had learnt long ago, obeying the rules was not an ability, true ability lies in breaking the rules to gain benefits, yet not receiving punishment. Those with true capabilities demolish the old order, while establishing new rules and enjoying the benefits along the way. Shang Yanfei used this chance to remind Xianxia, before he gave another reward for them to consider. Xianxia only heard half of it, before her eyes glowed intensely. This was exactly what Fang and Bai needed the most.